cares how safe it is? It looks cool. Shut up, stop asking questions. No, for real though, it's a valuable concern. Safety used to be Tesla's #1 priority, especially when unveiling the Model 3. They were very happy to expect that it would be 5-star in all categories when it comes to both active and passive. And at the Cybertruck unveiling, we got basically nothing when it came to the safety of the vehicle, which is why I think a lot of people have some concerns that I wanted to dive into in today's video, because on every single video I've talked about the Cybertruck, there's at least a good chunk of commenters that are always talking about pedestrian safety and laws and regulation about safety features of a vehicle, and I feel like a lot of things get oversimplified or overlooked. So the first groundwork that I think we need to establish before talking about some of the active and passive safety features of the Cybertruck are, what are the differences between an active safety feature and a passive safety feature? And in my opinion, both are important, but at the end of the day, active safety features, they kind of come out more near the top, in my opinion. You may disagree though, and keep in mind guys, I am an idiot when it comes to car safety regulation, okay? This is legit a guy who barely drives his car anyway because he works from home, who's standing in his living room talking to you about his theories. So by no means am I a professional on the matter. I just have the internet and I like to Google things when I have questions, so keep that in mind moving forward. But I'm pretty sure at least an active safety measure is something that is electronic and controlled by a computer, so things like a radar or camera systems that detect when a pedestrian or another car is in the way and will automatically brake the vehicle before the driver even can. So you can get unreal avoidance systems and braking systems that a traditional driver would not be capable of doing. I'm sure you guys have seen the countless videos of Tesla's braking before an accident happens and avoiding things on the street and taking over the steering of the driver when there's someone in the road and it wants to avoid hitting that object or accident, whatever may happen. These are all active safety features, which of course the Cybertruck, because it has autopilot hardware, is going to be more than capable of doing. I also think it should be worth mentioning that because this vehicle is designed to have performance, especially when it comes to 0 to 60 times, which all electric vehicles are known for having really fast acceleration, if you have that, you also have to have some decent braking and quick to stop features put in place, which means that the Cybertruck may be better at coming to a complete stop if a kid or something jumps in the road compared to something like a Ford F-150. We don't know that much about the braking systems in place, of course. We only saw the one prototype. We don't really know what the production model is going to be like, but that's just some speculation on my part, that because Tesla has had insane safety track records between Model S, Model X, Model 3, Model Y, incredibly safe vehicles thanks to both their active safety measures, which allows them to avoid rear-ending and avoid people and stop for pedestrians. But the bigger question a lot of people come back to is, what about those passive safety features? For those who don't know what those are, that's things that only activate once the accident has already taken place. So things like the Crumple Zone is something you'll hear about when people talk about the Cybertruck a lot, because on the Model 3, Y, S, and X, when they hit a wall or an object or whatever at a very high rate of speed, that front of the vehicle is not occupied by a giant engine like most ICE vehicles do. So there's a lot more room to compress and take on the impact, and therefore cushioning the blow for people inside the vehicle, and that's how you're able to have a very high chance of survival even if the Tesla itself, after an accident, looks completely destroyed. The good news is there's a good chance that someone can still make it out. Now, I think the oversimplification comes when people look at the Cybertruck's exoskeleton and they just think, wow, that thing's so durable, it's so strong. You know, Franz took a sledgehammer and he slammed the side of it. It didn't even dent. It got a little bit scuffed up, but this thing is so rigid, you know, it's built like a tank. So essentially, when this thing runs into a wall, it's not going to crumple at all. And that means that everyone inside the car just turns into scrambled eggs. So I see why, if we oversimplify things, that would be the case. But in my opinion, again, I'm an idiot, not an expert in this field. I don't think that just because Franz can hit the side of it with a sledgehammer, that means there will be no crumple zone, okay? And especially compare this to other pickup trucks, right? The Cybertruck has a frunk. They showcase that, and that means that there's a good amount of the front of this vehicle that is prepared to crumble and compress in the event of a high-speed collision. I know, because it's stainless steel and because it's an exoskeleton, it's probably way more durable than a traditional aluminum body that we have on other Tesla vehicles. But I personally think, given the weight of the Cybertruck and the amount of speed you're able to collect with that thing, if you have this much inertia going towards a wall, the stainless steel probably still going to crumble and probably still going to take a bulk of the impact once the Cybertruck starts running into walls, objects, or other vehicles. So I get that it's a meme, right? That once this thing drives around, it's basically going to kill everyone in its path. because other cars become the crumple zone, right? And everyone inside the Cybertruck, you'll be fine, but for everybody who gets in an accident with the Cybertruck, they'll be screwed. See, the thing is, we won't know for sure until they actually start doing some of the safety testing with the Cybertruck, because this is not your off-the-shelf stainless steel. This is a special cold-rolled version that they use in a lot of the SpaceX rockets, so this is a very specific type of stainless steel. And my guess is that since Tesla has cared so much about safety in their previous vehicles, I don't think they're just completely throwing it out the window in this one, okay? So my guess is it still crumbles and it still absorbs the blow. It may not absorb the blow as efficiently as something like a Model 3 or a Model Y, but at the same time, you risk some safety features when you take a more practical, you know, utility-based pickup truck. And I mean, look at crash tests of things like the Ford F-150 when you have a giant engine in the front of the car. Is that better than having, you know, a Franken exoskeleton? I think I would rather have compression a little bit opposed to just a giant engine in the front of the vehicle that all has to come back at me in the event of an accident. So comparing the Cybertruck to a mid-size sedan, even if it is built by Tesla, it's kind of unfair. I think it would make more sense to compare it to those heavy-duty pickup trucks and their safety performance, in which case I imagine the Cybertruck to be kind of industry-leading for a vehicle that has this much practicality. The other passive safety feature that a lot of people might easily forget about is the battery pack is easily one of the most heaviest components of a vehicle, and having it on the floor means that there's a very, very low center of gravity, a low risk in tipping, and it's also a lot better if you're doing things like off-roading, which Elon Musk has said the Cybertruck is supposed to be good at that. And when you have that adaptive air suspension, being able to have most of the weight of the vehicle down near the floor, that means you don't have to worry so much about tipping over end or tipping off backwards when climbing up a really, really steep hill, because you have all that weight in the center. So that is safer overall, and that is a passive safety feature. I'm sure the inside of this thing is going to be stuffed to the brim with airbags, just like any Tesla vehicle is. But another big concern that I see a lot of people bring up is pedestrian safety. So again, I do think this is an oversimplification, but I've seen a lot of people think that this Cybertruck is super, super dangerous for pedestrians because of how sharp and how rigid the angles are on this thing. So in the event of it running into a person, they're going to get severely hurt and they're going to get real damage. Well, here's my point about coming back to active safety measures. At the end of the day, there's not really a car that looks good to get hit by, right? I mean, yeah, the Cybertruck is sharp and rigid and it's got this really aggressive looking exoskeleton, but have you ever seen a pickup truck that's like, oh yeah, that could probably hit a person and not cause that much damage? No, I mean, look at the front of any pickup. It doesn't look good, and you want to make sure it's absolutely your priority that the car is able to prevent hitting a person if at all possible. And in my opinion, if there was some rounded off curved design that was less impactful to pedestrians while hitting them, but it wasn't as good at auto braking and detecting when there's a person and stopping automatically, then a truck that sure may cause more damage when hitting a person, but it was really, really good at preventing the hit from happening at all, thanks to radar systems, cameras built in, and active safety measures, as well as really, really responsive and high performance brakes that the Cybertruck would probably be equipped with. That's what makes me think active safety measures always are going to be more important than passive, because at the end of the day, would you rather have a less painful incident with a car or no incident at all? If it's possible to avoid an accident or hitting a person at all, I think that should be the main priority. Yes, passive safety features are good because we admit that systems fail and those active safety features aren't always going to be able to work. You know, there will be certain circumstances where a kid or a person runs out in the middle of the street or a car cuts someone off and it's simply impossible for the vehicle to stop in time. But I think that in those rare circumstances where the vehicle is unable to take over and unable to stop the car in time, the risks and the damage will be so high that the shape of the vehicle won't really make that big a difference. I still believe the Cybertruck will crumble because it has that frunk, and because I think stainless steel is really, really rigid and practical with an exoskeleton like this, but it's mainly to prevent things from easily denting when loading things onto the truck or someone opening their car door into you. Yeah, it won't dent from that, but that doesn't mean that it can't crumble and absorb an impact when the Cybertruck, you know, plows into a building or a car going, you know, well over 40 miles an hour. I think those are very, very different impacts on that exoskeleton. and to act like they're the same and just say, well, because the Cybertruck's tough, it cannot crumble, I think that's an oversimplification. And again, I could be wrong about that because we obviously don't have any of the safety videos or safety testing of the Cybertruck showcased yet. Once it comes out, we'll know more so for sure. But a lot of people, when it comes to pedestrian safety law, have been saying that the Cybertruck, you know, will not fly in Europe. This design is way too dangerous. And I remind them that the Cybertruck is literally the opposite kind of a vehicle that was meant for Europe. You know, one of the most popular selling vehicles in the world is the Ford F-150, and that's their target demographic with the Cybertruck. You know, they literally bring it up whenever they compare the Cybertruck to other pickups because that's the most common one. That's the one that people buy all the time. Ford F-150, you know, not insanely popular in Europe. So will there be a Cybertruck Mini or something smaller and more compact that they build for Europe someday? Probably, but their goal is not to make the most best-selling pickup for Europe because pickups aren't as popular there compared to the US, where, especially in the Midwest, tons of people buy pickup trucks. So making sure that is their target demographic. And yeah, maybe in some countries in the EU, Cybertruck won't be legal, but I don't think there's much market for them there anyway. If they're able to cut a big percentage of the Ford F-150 sales, then this thing's already a hit. You know, it doesn't even have to come to Europe for this to be successful as long as people are buying it instead of a Ford F-150. So that's their primary audience. I don't think they're worried too much about how it's going to do in Europe, and that's why there may be some regulations that don't pass over there. But at the end of the day, I highly doubt Tesla has completely ignored safety features, both active and passive. So that's why I think there's still a crumple zone. The active safety features are going to be amazing and really, really awesome at detecting when a person or object is in the way and stopping. And sure, there may be some safety advantages to Model 3 and Y have over the Cybertruck, but it's kind of an unfair comparison when we're talking about very, very different size and practical vehicles. So compared to other pickup trucks, the Cybertruck will still probably be one of the safest in its class, but compared to a Model 3 or Y, yeah, maybe a little less safe. But of course, I could be wrong, so feel free to hit me up over on Twitter, join my Discord, and we can chat more about Cybertruck safety theories over there. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have an excellent rest of your day. Take care.